Welcome to the American Contractor Show, the show that's all about American contractors living the American dream. I'm your host, John Dye. Each episode will introduce you to contractors just like you who have beaten the odds and leveled up their game to become the dominant force in their markets. Together, we'll explore the tools and tactics that unlock the secrets to their success. Join me as we begin the journey that leads to the realization of your American dream. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Thursday's edition of the American Contractor Show. My name is John Dye, and I'm your host here. Always a pleasure and an honor to be with you guys, hopefully bringing you some knowledge and giving you some better understanding on subjects that are important to contractors and business owners and salespeople and everyone that's involved in our industry that make things happen. We appreciate you, and this show is all about you, and I'm excited about today's episode because we have an amazing conversation that I know is about to take place between two great minds in our industry that, are going to discuss the differences between marketing and sales, which a lot of people think that marketing and sales are almost like interchangeable as far as their skill set goes and how they work. But in all reality, this is a pretty common conversation that we have around here as well, because marketing and sales are really distinctively different. But when they are actually, when you're allowed to flourish in those two departments and do your job individually, all of a sudden something magical starts to happen. And we're going to explore that today. We have Dustan Biegler with us from Apple Roofing, one of the strongest brands in our industry, and a good friend of ours here at American Contractor Show and out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And they have offices all over the nation, do a phenomenal job at branding and marketing. And then we also have Dale Childress Jr. with us, who's about to join us, and he is the master closer. I'm sure everyone knows who Dale is. He's phenomenal at teaching and training salespeople, and not just that, but he's a phenomenal salesperson, one of the best that I've ever seen in our industry and in general. He's just amazing at what he does. So I'm excited to have them. They're about to hop on here. But before that, I wanted to remind you guys to make sure to check out Atlas Roofing, because they're a phenomenal partner for you as well. They've been offering some amazing opportunities to their through their Asphalt Life program that they got, which is live, roof, and play is the motto there. And you need to check them out. If you haven't, if you're looking for a good partner to partner with when it comes to your manufacturer partners, Atlas is a phenomenal choice out there. So check them out. Go to atlasroofing.com/asphalt life. And if you just want to check out the Asphalt Life articles and all the content that they have for contractors, it's pretty amazing. Check it out. atlasroofing.com/asphalt life. Also, a huge shout out to Hail Trace, our other sponsors, and as well Contractor Coach Pro. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much for being a sponsor here. And C3 Group, if you guys don't know who they are, check them out. They're amazing. They're probably slammed right now out in Colorado with all the hail that just hit out there. So good to have them in the Catalyst Group, Savage Media, Roof Scope. If you're looking for measurements, check them out as well. So, but let's, without further ado, let's bring in some of these guests today that are going to be joining us that have such great experience, and I'm so excited to bring them on. And, Dustan and Dale really complement each other so well, and this conversation is going to be top notch, I feel like. But and not only that, but these guys have really come out swinging today with the mics. Thank you guys for being on here. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you both.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. I'm always grateful to be a part of the show.
Thanks, Dale.
Yeah, it's great to be back, and really great to be on with Dale. I've really listened to your stuff for a while, and I love it.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I'm just grateful to help people. I'm in a hurry to help people. We got a lot of people to help.
That's your brand.
In a hurry to help people. I feel like that should be a country song somewhere. And with Dale could be the lead singer of that song for sure. Out of Nashville, you can pull that off.
Well, we are. Go ahead, Dale.
All right. So, John, I know that you wanted today's show to be about branding and sales. So I'm glad to cover the part about sales. That's second nature. But I'm really excited to hear about the branding, because I think branding a lot of times gets overlooked. I know a lot of times when I help my own roofing clients, I have to break the news to them. Sometimes their brand is just way off. Like sometimes I look at their brand and I see what they represent, and it doesn't even say that they're in the roofing industry. Like
that is actually part of what we're gonna go into today. I think it's
I'm
really
looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to what you have to bring, man, because I know it's definitely needed in the industry.
well. Don't ask your friends and family what they think of your brand.
There you go. That's the gold nugget right there.
So,
Well, let's dive into this for a little bit because I talk about this internally a lot. I spend a lot of time with as a marketing guy with our sales department and vice versa. We do work together, but we have such distinctive roles. And on the branding side of things and marketing, I mean, Dustin, what you guys have done is phenomenal. And I almost feel like this is kind of like the chicken and the egg kind of conversation, like which comes first. But we're just going to dive into branding first and talk about marketing and what you guys have done, because you guys took the Apple roofing brand and over the course of just a few years have exploded nationwide and are just going all over the place. But I've been in your offices. I've spent time observing what you guys do, following your social media, following your presence. Like, you go to Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's like Apple roofing country. So let's talk about that. Like, what was your mindset going into this and building, and how did you build Apple roofing? What was your desire there, and that drove you to really focus on the branding of that company?
well, I think I've always recognized how important it is, right? When you look at companies like Target or McDonald's or Apple or whatever, right? Like, you understand that you don't even. I think they pass the ultimate test, right? Like, the ultimate test is when you see their brand, you know who they are without having to see their name or them tell you who they are, right? Like, I think once you accomplish that, that's like the ultimate test you can pass in a market, right? So that was kind of our thought process going in, and I'm gonna say, like, a brand, I grew up mostly in town, but my grandpa has a ranch, and they brand their cattle, to identify who's is what. And I think clients are gonna like look at a company in the same way, right? Like, they're gonna identify your brand with who you are, like what kind of people you serve, are they your type of client, things like that, and I think some of the things we need to start thinking about as entrepreneurs nowadays is that what we're branding has really changed over the last few decades. It used to be that people would plaster their phone number bigger than people literally would try to brand their phone number, you know what I mean? And
yeah, I remember those days.
I mean, when is the last time you drove by a billboard and wrote down the phone number on it, right? You didn't. Nobody. You're going to go now. If I ask you, when's the last time you went to Google and looked up a company because you remembered it? I can say I did that this morning, So when you have that mindset of building your brand, I think it's super important just to say, hey, how can they remember my name? It's got to be consistent. It's got to be recognizable. It's got to be simple and clean, I think is good rules to live by. Don't try to, I guess, get too fancy with it. And
you keep talking about the brand and like the logo and the colors and all the different things that go into this element of branding. And we're actually about to have the next episode on Tuesdays about truck branding and truck wraps. And I took a lot of cues from you guys when we wrapped our truck here at American Contractor Show, which we're going to do a whole thing. But one of the big things that I really focused on when we developed a brand was our brand guideline. We had to have like a very distinctive, like, this is what the brand should say. This is what it's designed to do. This is how you do and don't use our logo, our brand, everything about us. We were really strict about this kind of stuff. How important are those elements into when it comes to branding?
Very important. I mean, the roofing industry is famous for having like the name of your company with a little roof on top, right? Like, and then you're just like everybody else. Whereas if you look at, I'm going to use Target for an example. When you see their brand, it turns your mind to the name of the company. And I think I'm going to say this because your logo is right behind you, John. You guys did a really good deal by in your brand, you have the American flag and you're the American contractor. It ties back to it, right? I think that's not necessary, but it's a powerful tool in your branding to incorporate some way that ties back to who you are. I think that is a powerful tool for being remembered.
Right. And I think though, like, do you think it's a negative thing when someone takes like their name and turns it into a roofing company versus like you guys took Apple and made that your brand, like your actual identity around that?
Depends on your mission statement, but I do think you're at a disadvantage when you do use, your name or like RSG or BAC or ABC. Those types of things are you're blending in with so many other names that have been used. They don't trigger an object, in somebody's mind. I think that our minds remember, things like objects that we relate to easier than we remember like an adjective, right? Or a nothing. So if you do have, I use Target again or Apple or whatever, right? Like when you see those things, your mind goes to an object. You think of an object. It's tied back to your memory, and it is a tactic that works. I think that when you do come up with your brand, that those things should be thought about, and I wouldn't see why somebody wouldn't want to give themselves every advantage they can have, right? So I know that some people have, matter of fact, I'm going to use a company out in Kearney, Nebraska. They were RSG Roofing, and they
Hey, Dustin. We'll pop right back into this, I think, here in a second. I think yeah. I want to tie this over to Dale for a second, though. We'll come back to RSG here in just a minute. But Dale, how important is it when you're selling that you have this strong brand behind you?
Here's the importance of it, man. You want your name to be synonymous with what you represent. So the reason I created Master Closer was because I thought, you know what? What's a character that I can think of that is one step above closer? Because everyone knows what a closer is. So when I created that term, Master Closer, it indicates that it's a step above a closer. So my name represents what I do, and it's in as few words as possible. So Master Closer, that's who I am. It's what we are, and it's what we create. I love your brand, American Contractor. It's who you are, right? So it's a great brand. I love being able to push my name out there, and it comes back. I can't tell you how many people reach out to me, and they've been following me for years, and I have no idea who they are. And it's because of my brand.
And it's because of your brand. Now let's talk this from a practical standpoint. From if you're a salesperson for a company, let's shift this gear into the sales conversation for a second, and how branding really differs from marketing. And in general, like, this is kind of the Achilles heel, I think, of our industry a little bit, where contractors hire salespeople. They expect them to basically do everything from marketing to sales, to the whole nine yards. Like, these people are, they that's their job as project managers or whatever they want to call them. But there's such a huge distinctive difference there. What happens when you're a salesperson that's responsible for not just the sales, but the branding of the company as well?
So one biggie is, and I want to challenge everybody right now. If you went to your own social media platform, would you hire what's on your Facebook page? What we represent as an individual absolutely carries over into our company brand. So I would encourage everybody to live your brand. Don't compartmentalize it to where your brand is only turned on when you're in business, during business hours. Live your brand. Make your life representative of your brand. And that's my best advice. Always, not necessarily always be closing, but just always be pushing your brand out there. You want to be at the top of the mind of everyone who could possibly use your services. You want to be the guy synonymous with whatever it is they're looking for. So, for example, my company, Master Closer, we're synonymous with teaching people how to close more deals. When any roofing forum you go to, it never fails, and I'm very grateful because it took 10 years to get here. But if someone asks, "Hey, who is a roof sales trainer?" I know when that question gets asked because my phone starts blowing up with notifications where I get tagged without fail. And I'm very, very grateful for that. 6-7 times every time a post comes up about who's a roof sales trainer. And it does take a lot of persistence, and you got to push 10 times harder than what you think to get there. So my best advice is you want your when you're selling, you want to live your brand. You want to be the dependable one that they can count on day in and day out. If you text me at 2 a.m., if I hear my phone go off, I'll respond. And
Right.
That's my brand. We're master closers.
Dale, can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Okay. To finish that thought, though, I did want to say that RSG spent a bunch of money rebranding as Buffalo Roofing, and now they've got a fantastic brand. They're well recognized in the area. I think it made a huge difference. They have told me that it has. So that's to finish that thought out. But I did want to ask Dale this. There's a lot of different types of branding, and one of the things that this is my opinion on this subject, is you see a lot of co-branding, right, happening, where somebody's putting like BBB on their truck or Angie's List or their favorite shingle manufacturer, right? And to me, that is, for one, I think every bit of real estate is important when you're trying to show your brand, and everything outside of what your brand is a distraction, right? So I personally do not like when people co-brand. I also think it's like indicative of like a insecurity in your own brand, that you're leaning on a brand that I think is more powerful than your own, or that you feel is more powerful, right? And I think it makes you like another Me Too mentality in the sale, right? And it's like a crutch that people lean on instead of developing like a real offering, right? Which I just want to hear Dale's take on that, because you're so good in that department of the sale. And this is where we really tie together really well.
So my vision when I first started this company was to be doing what we're doing. So my vision, I think it all comes down, and I know everybody will agree with this, but I think it all comes down to what we want in the future. Do you want to be associated with another name or not? Because if that doesn't fit your vision, then don't do it. If you like forming an alliance and joining a partnership and it's a really good fit, maybe you both could be mutually beneficial to each other to tap into each other's markets. But you really want to weigh this out, guys, because attention flows. Let me get that right. Attention goes where energy flows. Attention goes where energy flows. You want to put their attention on you and your brand. And
Okay.
and in getting their attention, you'll obviously get their energy. You want to have that flow of energy going to you. And you cannot do that if they're paying attention to someone else's brand. Regardless of how big or how good the brand is, you need their full attention. You really do. You need their full attention. And like I said, sometimes it's a good fit to co-brand because it makes sense. It's practical. But just keep in mind, you're going to get the energy that you're going to receive is solely from the attention that you acquire from your audience. 10,000. I did this the wrong way. And I know John's heard this. I did this the wrong way, but I think it worked out for me. I post personally over 10,000 posts to my friend. No patient or no tricks, no hiring someone to do it for me. I posted 10,000 Facebook posts to promote my brand. And it finally I finally started seeing those results after years of doing that. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen as quick as you want it to. You got to burn your brand into their brain. You want to be the guy known by everyone else that's what you do. I have so many people out there that they're cheerleaders for me, and they want me to do well, and they know what I stand for, and they know how big of a difference I can make with a roof sales team. I don't have to go out and find the business anymore. It literally does come to me, and I'm very grateful for that. So
yeah, I think you're a real example of, you know, the amount of effort that you take into building your brand can be done much easier if you're actually delivering a lot of value, right, in what you do, because you do get those cheerleaders or references, if you will, right? And like I've always heard, you know, a brand has to be seen 7 times before a person really even registers like who it is, what do you do, right?
I totally agree with that. Absolutely.
So
one of the things is like a refrigerator. There's a Frigidaire.
Yep.
Where I come from, we called it Frigidaire. I mean, it was just kind of the brand. Like we called it what it was, even if it wasn't a Frigidaire brand. Like that's just, and so that's what it's all about. When you become the symbol of your industry, you're really
Oh
right?
yeah. I call that the Kleenex, right? Who
There you
doesn't
go.
who doesn't ask for a Kleenex?
Regardless of the brand.
Doesn't matter, right? It's a Kleenex. Yep. Yeah,
so they've got that market handled, and that's a great example.
Dustin, let me ask you this. So we're talking about branding and sales, but let's talk about branding and building a company and a culture. How has, like, besides just bringing in more sales in the door for your business, what are the other benefits to your branding that you guys have found that just, you know, help build your company essentially?
Well, I think your brand is like the first impression that anybody has, right, of your company. So that's going to be the case for not only your clients, but also for the people you're recruiting, you know. And I think if you center your brand around like, what is my mission? You know, you're going to really create like a living brand. I'll say like an ecosystem of something that is living, right? And your brand is going to start living through your people. Like if you have a brand of excellence or you know, improvement or whatever your brand is in your company, that's going to start being lived through your people. And so I think that's a big deal. I think we do benefit from, you know, both clients and, you know, recruits in that aspect. You know, your brand can do that for you. It goes very much with your mission statement. Your brand should be centered around that.
Yeah, and you're right, because I think that at the end of the day, when you have that identity that is your brand, it just speaks volumes throughout the entire company. It's what you guys are all about. It's what you've become as far as excellence goes, and you know, it all comes back to the same thing. And you know, our friends over in Tyler, Texas, ASAP. Let's talk about it. Like their brand is ASAP Roofing, and guess what? They are one of the fastest roofing contractors to get jobs done. They, you know, there's no delay there. You're not going to wait 6-7 months. You're not going to have to deal with all this stuff. It's just, it happens. But when you have this intangible like identity, which I'm starting to really see the value in this, and you guys are kind of opening my eyes, because I look at these guys that run these companies and gals, and they have their last name, or they have the acronyms like you said, and it's almost kind of like, you know, yeah, there's some value to a family-owned business. People do like that, but there's also like a lack of ownership from the team at that point, because it's not their name on the truck. It's not their name that they're selling. They're selling this other person's name. And you think that's kind of like, and I hate to put it in this term, but is that sort of selfish, you think?
Could you clarify the question?
I mean, if you named your company Biegler Roofing right now,
right,
all of a sudden the identity is Dustan Biegler.
Yeah, and I feel like in today's society there is a place for a personal brand, okay, but I don't believe that is probably the most advantageous place to like put your name on your company. I still feel you're at a disadvantage. I agree with you. It does feel like you're more about you, but it is also, I mean, you could spin something how you want, right? It could also be about your legacy that, hey, I'm putting my name on it. Depends on, it depends on the mission behind it, I think. But when you think about that, I think there's a lot of like tips you can have about branding, right? Like there's shortcuts. I mean, color branding is one of them. I think there's brands with incredibly powerful, colors. I'd say McDonald's, that yellow and red, like you see them together and you just are going to think of McDonald's,
Yeah.
I think that consistency is huge. Matter of fact, the more consistent you are, we just talked about somebody needs to see your brand 7 times. Well, guess what? If they see it in a different way each time, they only saw it once,
Yeah.
So the more consistent you are, the more results you're going to get out of it. And I really think like when you're wanting to know, hey, is my brand where I really want it? Don't, like we said earlier, don't go ask your friends and family. They're going to be like, oh yeah, it's so awesome. You're so good, man. Right. Like that's what they do. That's why they're our friends and family, I guess. They don't want to offend us, but why don't you go, pay total strangers that have never seen your brand, right? And prepare something like, put a lineup of 12 different brands on a board and show it to them for exactly 3 seconds and ask them which one can they remember. How many can you remember? Which ones are they? Like there's tests that you can do that are going to show you like how well you are branded.
So as we continue on here, that's a great way to do it. And I think that's probably one of the best ways to do it. Dustin, your mic, man. I don't know we need to get you a new interface box. And so that's a good way to put it though. If you have that focus group where you're able to do that for them and give them that opportunity, yeah, it's a lot of great valuable information. And I totally agree with you on it. And I'm just sitting here thinking about this and looking at our own branding, looking at our own stuff. And I'm like, man, there's so much more work that we can do to make our brand better. And I think it's responsible that as a marketing department, you do that, and you do that as the business owner for your team and for the people in front of you and for the people below you. And so, Dustin, how much easier is it for your team to sell Apple roofing because of the branding that you guys have done?
I'm on a 1 to 10. I think it's a huge tool, because and
everyone
Dale
wants to work for Apple in Lincoln.
Dale could probably really speak to this, but I have a way limited knowledge compared to him on closing, but I do know, out of some of the studying that I have done on it, right? Like one of the things that people need is they need to either need or want your product, right? What you have, what you're selling. Number 2 is they need to trust the individual. And number 3, they need to trust the company that individual represents. And if that isn't there, then you're at a huge disadvantage. And if it is there, if they trust the company, they automatically assume they can trust the person that came from that company. So you're really able to set yourself up to better close. I think in our specific industry of being a contractor, one of the greatest challenges that we have is a lack of trust, right? Like there's a bad persona around contractors. And if the general public feels like, hey, this is a company I can trust, you are already at a huge advantage. I think that's one of the major milestones to overcome when you're going to, close out a client, right? Would you agree with that, Dale? Or
I totally would. Absolutely. There's a couple of things I want to throw in there that are right in alignment with what you're saying. One of the things that I did with my own brand was I researched colors and what colors do and what colors represent. And colors trigger certain emotions with the human brain. So thankfully, we're in an information age where we have quick access to pretty much information on anything we can think of. So I would highly encourage you, hop online, do your research on what colors are consistent with what you stand for. Because it's really, I'm fascinated because it's the psychology behind it. As a closer, I always want to understand why people think certain things. I want to understand what triggered them to think that. I'm concerned with how to handle their thinking. I want to know why they thought what they're thinking. Because when we can understand the psychology, then we can take them where we want to take them. So at that point in your business to where you are considering a rebrand, and I'm not a branding expert by any means, but
yeah, but
at least
as a
do the
closer
research to
though,
find out what.
as a closer though, Dale, like how advantageous is it when you're able to close for a strong brand versus a not so strong brand?
As a closer, I'm putting all the attention on me. When I'm going on an appointment, it's on me. You get me. You get me. That's what you're getting. And I do that regardless of which company I would be representing. You're getting me. I'm the reason you should do this deal. But it's scalable, but it takes a long time to get to that point. If you have a brand, I can tell you this, if you have a good company brand and the company's done a fantastic job with their credentials and what they're associated with, any person off the street can go in and be a successful salesperson with the right amount of activity and training with that brand, as long as the company stands for something good. But the way I highly recommend anyone on this call, if you're a salesperson, you need to reinforce you. The reason they should do the deal is because it's you. I would make the company secondary because people nowadays are missing that personal connection. People nowadays are order takers. They're not even salespeople, let alone closers. So we can change that in our industry and be professional salespeople, professional closers. They're getting me as part of the deal. And that typically costs extra. You're getting me. That's how I like to frame it when I go on an appointment.
And that's a great way to put it.
Here's a word track. I'll give you a gold nugget right now. The reason you should choose me instead of the other 4 people you talked to today is because I accept full responsibility for making sure that everything goes perfect with your project. Rehearse that and say that 100 times in your head. The reason you should choose me is because I accept full responsibility for making sure that everything goes perfect on your project. Guys, nobody says that anymore. And the truth of the matter is, if they did choose you, you would be responsible anyway, whether you wanted to be or not. So you might as well use that as leverage to make yourself look different.
Yeah, I totally agree. Guys,
Really good
I really
advice.
appreciate you both being here today. Such great information. And you know, Dustin, you're such a heavyweight when it comes to branding and marketing, and you guys have killed it with Apple Roofing. Dale, you're killing it with Master Closer and teaching contractors how to close deals in ways that most people never even think of. You blend these two together. You guys are an awesome team that could really change the world, and they're just doing amazing stuff. And I'm so excited to have you both on the show today. Thank you for your knowledge, for sharing it with contractors today. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, but thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks for having us. Dustin,
Appreciate it, John.
Dustin, how can anybody get in touch with you if they're interested in rebranding or maybe branding their company for the first time?
You know, go to our website and my email should be in there. But if not, it's Dustan with an A. So DUSTAN at appleroofingllc.com.
Awesome.
Or find me on Facebook. That's what everybody does.
LinkedIn, man. LinkedIn's where it's at.
Or LinkedIn. Yes, I'm on both of them. So you bet. Either one of those. I'm active on both.
Awesome. Dale, how do we get a hold of you? I know people want to do that for sure.
Just go to find me on Facebook, Dale Childress Jr. There's tons of stuff out there. Guys, if you have a question, a roof sales question, find me and message me and I'll personally help you. Just tell me that you saw me on this show and I'll help you any way I can.
That's cool, man. I appreciate both of you guys so much. Thank you for being here, taking time out of your busy days and being a part of this. I appreciate it, guys.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Thanks. Appreciate it, both of you.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, that's Dustan Biegler and Dale Childress Jr., two of the best names in our industry when it comes to branding and sales and marketing and closing and all this awesome stuff that they're doing. I appreciate them so much. And, we're going to have a phenomenal episode. This is kind of the lead up to this next episode. And I'm going to give you guys a quick sneak peek. No one has seen this yet. Okay, this is like download and dirty sneak peek right now of what is to come on Tuesday. And this is the episode that we're going to talk about how we some of the story behind the American Contractor Show and some of our branding, as well as something that you guys are really big into, which is wrapping trucks and, getting your brand out there on a rolling billboard. And I'm going to show you guys how we did it and what we're doing. And we have a whole episode planned for this. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you guys what the outcome was, and then we'll back it up when we get there. And so make sure to join us on Tuesday for this special episode. Once again, thank you so much to our sponsors, Atlas Roofing, the Catalyst Group, Contractor Coach Pro, Hail Trace, Roof Scope. You guys are amazing. C3 Group. You guys are all awesome, and thank you for making this show possible. Dustin, Dale, thank you so much again for being a part of this. Folks, check this out, and I look forward to Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to come right back at you with this amazing episode. It's a special episode of the American Contractor Show, and we'll just show this preview, and then we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe our pages so that you can stay up to date with every episode. And by the way, this show is all about you, the American Contractor. Be sure to comment, let us know what you want to hear about and what subjects you want us to touch on. We'll be sure to include them in a future episode. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great day.